Somewhere on a server you have never heard of, a 30-year-old piece of software is making sure your files don't disappear. It's called Rsync. You don't see it, but if you have ever backed up a phone, synced a folder, or watched a company restore data after crash, there's a good chance Rsync did the quiet, thankless job of making sure nothing was lost. Its creator is a man named Andrew Tridgell. 30 years writing system software, a kind of engineer other programmers still speak about with respect. In May 2026, Tridgell did what plenty of software engineers at that time had already started doing. He let an AI, Claude, rewrite parts of his own code. What shipped next in version 3.4.3 quietly broke the backup process. A kind of bug you don't notice until the exact moment you actually need your data back. By June, Rsync GitHub page had new issue, and someone had titled it this. It went viral not because it was funny, because everyone recognized it. Someone in the comments went after people defending him, saying you have shipped 0 features by hand. Tridgell didn't apologize, he doubled down. The thread turned into a public argument about whether even the most trusted infrastructure on the internet is safe from this. Tridgell's bug was one bug, one piece of software, but pull back and it stops looking like an accident. By the start of 2025, a quarter of startups in Y Combinator's winter batch, 25% had code bases that were 95% written by AI. Not assisted, written. And the code underneath those startups was changing in ways that should worry you more than any single crash. In 2021, a quarter of developers' time was spent not writing new code. It was spent cleaning up old code, clearing out duplicate logic that builds up as any system grows. By 2025, that number had fallen below 10%. Meanwhile, the duplicated code blocks, the same broken pattern copy-pasted across a dozen files, had gone up 8 times since 2022. Put those two numbers together and you are not looking at developers moving faster. You are looking at code base that's piling up problems faster than anyone is fixing them. Worse, when security researchers at Veracode tested AI-generated code samples in 2025, 45% of them contained critical vulnerabilities. The kind that sits on security researchers' own list of the worst flaws software can carry. None of this is incompetence. Every company in this story, the model providers, the wrapper platforms, the venture funds writing checks, it's staffed by people who know exactly how to lock a database down, what's called row-level security. For anyone who hasn't heard the term, it's the rule that decides exactly who's allowed to see which piece of data. They know exactly what a database looks like when it's left wide open. They're not confused about why that's dangerous. They ship them anyway. Because the entire valuation model of this industry, what investors now call vibe valuation, rewards only one thing above everything else: how fast a non-technical person can go from idea to a working app with zero friction. And that friction is exactly what keeps you safe. A permission prompt before something risky happens. A database that isn't left open for anyone on the internet to find. So platforms strip it out. Auto-generated databases ship wide open by default, not because nobody thought to lock them down, but because locking them down slows onboarding, and onboarding speed is the metric that raises next round. It is the same business model as a company that sells you a house with no locks on the doors and then sells you a separate security system to protect what they just left wide open. The platform shipping insecure by default tools are also the ones selling AI security scanners and code review subscription built for fixing the same exact problem they just created. I'll tell you how I know this isn't just theory. There's a sports booking portal I used. Badminton courts, cricket nets, basketball, all of it opens up for booking at 5 in the morning. And every morning same thing happens. The slots are gone in minutes. Hundreds of people all hitting refresh at the same time, all losing to whoever woke up earliest. I didn't want to wake up at 5, so I built something. A Python bot, Selenium under the hood, a clean Streamlit interface, hosted on GitHub Actions so it would run automatically without my laptop even being open. The idea was simple. The evening before, I would schedule a slot that I wanted. Let's say 4 p.m. badminton on Tuesday. So on Tuesday morning at 5 a.m. sharp, when I was still sleeping, the bot would go on my behalf, fight the rush and book it for me. It worked. I felt like I had solved something. I shared a link with one friend, just one, and in a few minutes he messaged me back, not to say it worked, but to say, Bhai, I can see your whole account, your name, your bookings, everything. I thought he was joking, so I told him to prove it. He booked a slot from my account on his phone and it reflected live on my Supabase dashboard. When I went back to AI and asked what had happened, it told me something which I hadn't thought to check. It had transferred my session cookies to anyone who opened the link. My authentication, my identity inside the app handed over silently to whoever clicked the URL. The AI hadn't warned me, it had just not thought about it. I fixed it in 10 minutes once I knew where to look. But that's the thing, I only looked because my friend told me. If he hadn't said anything, I would have just kept sharing the link and kept feeling like I had built something solid. Now you might think, okay, tech companies are being greedy, but surely the actual software engineers using these tools realize that they are shipping broken apps. Well, let me tell you something interesting. In July 2025, the research group Meter ran a study that should have been the biggest story in the tech that month. They took experienced developers, people who already knew their own code bases, and timed them, once working normally, once working with state-of-the-art AI coding assistants. The developers using AI were 19% slower. Before the study even began, researchers asked developers one question: how much faster do you think AI is going to make you? And the average answer was 24% faster. Then they actually did the work. Real task, real code bases, stopwatch running the whole time. And the result was opposite of what anyone predicted. With AI, the same developers were 19% slower. Interesting part is after finishing, they were again asked, how fast do you think you just worked? And despite just being measured working slower, the answer was 20% faster. They just hadn't it wrong, they had it completely backwards and they had no idea. Researchers call it the productivity placebo. Watching a prompt generate 500 lines of working looking code in 3 seconds feels like progress. It triggers the same reward response as finishing a task. Even though the actual task, the debugging, the verification, the understanding of what the code does hasn't even started yet. The dopamine arrives before the work is done, so the brain logs it as done. Which means the most confident person in the room might also be the most wrong. So if the platforms benefit, developers are fooling themselves, somebody else is absorbing the actual cost. 3 groups to be specific. The first one is open source. Adam Wathan built Tailwind CSS, one of the most widely used design frameworks on the internet. Developers used to find it by visiting the documentation site. They would see the sponsorship links, some would pay. Now an AI agent answers the same question inside a chat window, and the developer never visits the site at all. Wathan has reported documentation traffic down 40% and the revenue down by nearly 80% since 2023. He built it, AI tools are the ones getting paid for it. The second group is junior developers, the ones who used to learn by doing the unglamorous work. Testing, migrations, repetitive maintenance. AI does that work now, which sounds efficient until you realize that work was also how people became senior developers in the first place. Young coders are now realizing that they aren't being trained to be tech creators or architects. There's a brutal word they are using to describe their new jobs: digital janitors. They are just showing up to clean up the horrific broken messes that AI left behind. If you are anywhere near India's tech industry, the third group isn't a statistic. It's people you probably know.
It has been relentless. For the past 1 year, the tech sector has seen a steady decline. Top 10 technology firms, they've lost nearly 1/5 of their value.
On February 4, 2026, Indian IT stocks fell off a cliff. Infosys, Wipro, TCS, the Nifty IT index lost 1.9 lakh crore rupees in market cap in a single day. The trigger was Anthropic launching a new set of workflow productivity tools. Investors didn't panic because tools were dangerous. They panicked because it suddenly looked like companies wouldn't need nearly as many developers per project anymore. India's IT sector built its entire model on one simple idea: same work done for fraction of what it costs elsewhere. Thousands of fresh graduates trained to handle the repetitive coding and testing work clients abroad didn't want to pay their own engineers to do. The freshers aren't being fired for being bad at their jobs. The entry-level jobs that used to train them just aren't there anymore. None of this is actually new. The industry has run the version of this experiment before. In late 1990s, a movement called rapid application development promised the same thing vibe coding promises now, except the tool was drag and drop instead of natural language. Tools like Visual Basic and Delphi let you build an app by dragging buttons and forms onto a screen. It worked until it didn't. Visual tools hid how the database was actually built underneath, so developers skipped two critical but unglamorous steps: organizing the data so it doesn't repeat itself or contradict itself, normalization, and structuring it so the software can actually find anything quickly, indexing. None of it matters with 10 test users. All of it matters with 10,000 real ones. When these systems hit real load, they collapsed. The industry has given it a name: Shadow IT. The software that got built fast without anyone officially signing off on it, and was left for someone else to fix later. It's not just history repeating, it's happening in real time. Google CEO has said publicly that over 30% of new code at Google is now written by AI. The sheer volume of machine-generated code creates large bottleneck. The time senior engineers spend auditing, debugging, and fixing AI's subtle confident mistakes completely cancels out whatever time is saved upfront. This isn't some minor debate. It's the same rat bubble from the 90s repeating. This time it's just this chatbot interface instead of drag and drop canvas. Back to Rsync, that GitHub issue 929 was eventually closed by the maintainers. But closing a thread doesn't delete the history. Trigel's commits are still sitting right there. The code he built with Claude remains a core part of Rsync today. You will find exactly what you would expect. Engineers who have spent their entire careers making sure software doesn't break, watching someone defend a decision that broke the very thing he was famous for, keeping Rsync reliable. Nobody in this story is doing a bad job on purpose. The investors are trying to make money, the tech platforms are trying to grow fast, and the developers genuinely feel like they are flying. This is just the system doing exactly what it was designed to do. But the truth about AI coding craze comes down to one simple analogy from a veteran engineer. And it goes like, AI is exactly like a high-powered construction tool, like a high-speed chainsaw. If you already know how to build a safe, sturdy house from scratch, that power tool is going to help you build it 5 times faster. It's a superpower. But if you have absolutely no idea how a house is built, giving you a high-speed chainsaw isn't going to make you a master builder. It just means you are going to build a dangerous house that collapses on people inside, or you are going to accidentally cut your own leg off. Right now, the tech world is handing chainsaws to everyone. And as long as the world rewards speed over stability, the next giant internet collapse is already being built. We just don't know the name yet.